While most Americans were finishing Christmas leftovers, 47 million ounces of silver vanished in 4 days, and buyers were still willing to pay record prices to get it. Silver didn't spike because of speculation. It spiked because factories are running out of metal. On December 28, 2025, silver hit $80 per ounce, a 158% gain in just 1 year, smashing a price record that had stood for 45 years. But this wasn't another 1980-style bubble. Something far more serious was unfolding behind the scenes. In the first week of December, over 60% of COMEX's registered silver inventory was claimed for physical delivery, the fastest vault drain in the exchange's history. And the buyers didn't flinch at all-time high prices, because this wasn't investors chasing momentum. This was industrial demand colliding with a supply that no longer exists. Every memory chip, every smartphone, every electric vehicle, and every data center depends on silver to function, and there is no substitute. And now, companies like Samsung are discovering what happens when Wall Street's paper silver market meets physical reality. What you're about to see isn't the end of a silver rally. It's the beginning of a global industrial supply crisis that could reshape electronics, manufacturing, and commodity markets for years to come. Silver XY's move to nearly 80 per ounce in 2025 was not driven by speculation or retail frenzy. The defining event was the sudden removal of physical metal from the market. In just 4 trading days, more than 47 million ounces were claimed from COMEX-registered vaults, wiping out over 60% of deliverable inventory. Prices doubled and buyers still demanded delivery. That behavior only happens when users need metal to keep operating. Futures contracts, paper leverage, and price charts became irrelevant. This was a physical supply shock, where real-world demand overwhelmed a system built on financial promises rather than actual metal availability. Modern electronics cannot function without silver. Every memory chip, circuit board, smartphone, electric vehicle, and data center relies on silver-based conductive pastes, solders, and contacts. These materials are not optional and not cosmetic. Silver's unmatched electrical conductivity, thermal performance, and reliability at microscopic scales have no true replacement. Copper oxidizes, polymers degrade, and experimental alternatives fail under heat and stress. Manufacturers have spent decades trying to reduce silver use, not eliminate it, because elimination is impossible in high-reliability electronics. When silver supply tightens, production does not adapt smoothly. It stalls, breaks, or stops altogether. Samsung's 62% collapse in memory division profits reveals how fragile this system has become. The delay of its $37 billion Texas fabrication plant and repeated failures to deliver memory chips were blamed on market conditions. But the deeper issue is raw material scarcity. Every chip Samsung produces draws silver from the same shrinking global pool that COMEX just lost. Idle fabrication plants still burn cash, service debt, and destroy margins. When silver-based components fail to arrive on time, production lines halt immediately. Samsung's crisis is not a company problem. It is an early warning of what happens when industrial demand meets physical scarcity. Unlike most commodities, silver supply cannot respond quickly to higher prices. Roughly 72 to 80% of silver is produced as a byproduct of copper, lead, and zinc mining. Miners do not expand production because silver prices rise. They respond to base metal economics. That is why silver production stayed flat, even as prices climbed from 23 to 80. Primary silver mines are rare and take 5 to 8 years to develop. After 5 consecutive years of supply deficits totaling roughly 800 million ounces, stockpiles are being consumed faster than they can be replaced. China recognized this imbalance years ago and acted decisively. With control over roughly 70% of global silver refining capacity, Chinese buyers use purity arbitrage to pull Western silver into domestic supply chains. Shanghai silver inventories fell to 9-year lows, even as electronics production hit records. Chinese spot prices traded at severe premiums and backwardation, signaling urgent physical shortages. Once silver enters China's refining system, it rarely returns to Western markets. This one-way flow has quietly drained available supply, while Western manufacturers continued relying on futures contracts that no longer guarantee delivery. The paper silver market is now colliding with physical reality. Lease rates spiking to 200%, annualized persistent backwardation, record vault drains, and JP Morgan reclassifying massive inventories out of deliverable status all point to the same conclusion. Futures contracts promise metal that increasingly does not exist. Industrial buyers cannot accept cash settlement when factories need physical silver. As just-in-time supply chains fail, manufacturers will begin stockpiling metal at any price. That behavior permanently removes supply from markets and forces repricing far beyond historical norms. This is not a temporary squeeze. It is a structural breakdown. What we are witnessing is not the end of a rally, but the beginning of a reckoning. Silver is no longer behaving like a financial asset. It is being repriced as a strategic industrial material. 5 years of deficits, inelastic supply, collapsing inventories, and non-substitutable demand have finally converged. You cannot print silver, you cannot replace it, and you cannot manufacture modern technology without it. When physical scarcity meets industrial necessity, prices don't peak, they reset. December 2025 was the warning shot. The months ahead will determine whether markets adapt to reality or fracture under it. The silver crisis is no longer theoretical, it is unfolding in real time.